The United States Capitol Police have had a number of security issues to manage on a daily basis. Recently, there was a false active shooter report called into the Senate office building, prompting a lockdown across the Capitol campus and the affected buildings. Then protesters descended on an area where former President Donald Trump was indicted in federal court. Securing the Capitol has been a big issue for years now for the U.S. Capitol Police, and it is getting more complicated, especially since the riots back on January 6th. I want to welcome back in the former U.S. Capitol Police Chief Steven Sund. His book, Courage Under Fire, is currently out. And Chief Sund, it's good to have you back here on the Hill this Sunday morning. First week in August, the term has developed swatting, where somebody will call in a false report in order to create a massive response. Tom Manger, who is well known throughout our area, who's currently your successor as the U.S. Capitol Police Chief, detailed what went on that day. As somebody who'd been in that position before, how was that handled, and is there any way to handle it differently based upon what they knew at the time was the potential threat there?
So when you look at it again, I have probably about as much information as you have on it. So it may have been swatting, it may have just been a prank call, which could be a form of swatting. I think when you think about it, there's a lot of anxiety on the Hill. We've had a couple of attacks going all the way back to 1998. So there's even farther, there's a lot of anxiety. So I think the response there is speed, getting there as quickly as possible. You look at it, you see the teams right now going on, the contact teams. I think they did a pretty good response getting in there as quick as possible. But workers there have a lot of anxiety. The officers have a lot of anxiety, so they're doing the best they can, I think. So with the circumstances, the call went into MPD because of the 911 system. MPD responded, staged, Capitol Police went in. So I think it was a fairly decent response.
About 10 years ago, there was an incident where one of the workmen dropped some pipes in a garage one day, and that was called in as a possible active shooter because the pipes actually hitting the concrete sounded like gunshots to somebody. And I was up there that day. There was a massive.
I remember that. I was with DC Police when that happened.
A massive response that day. How has the response changed now in the wake of January 6th? Has it now taken on a new intensity, or was that intensity always there to begin with?
Well, I think, whenever you have a big event like January 6th, I think it's going to be intense for a while afterwards. I think there's still a significant intensity. The good thing is you're seeing some of the training that's going on. That's now being allowed to take place and what carried out. So the contact teams going in like that, that's a result of some of the training that's now being allowed to occur. So I think that's good. When you look at Washington, D.C., I know we had the indictment of President Trump at the Prettyman courthouse. Think about that. That courthouse is surrounded by 4 jurisdictions. You have Park Police, Federal Protective Service, Capitol Police, and MPD. And you see how they work together. That's how it happens with all the big events downtown. They try and work together based on the information that they have. So I think that's still playing out pretty well.
We have in recent history seen the United States Supreme Court fenced off with a steel, high, unscalable fence following its abortion decision. We've now seen in the last couple of weeks now the courthouse also being under intense security. There was a brand new fence around the White House now, which recently wrapped up construction to make it unscalable. One of the former Sergeant-at-Arms at the United States Senate, Bill Pickle, had once told us that if it was up to him, he would put in a situation where when the Congress was in session, the Capitol Hill would become a closed campus, meaning there would be fencing up around the entire time. That discussion has come up in the wake of January 6th. How feasible is that, and is that an answer to any of this, to actually put a fence up around the United States Capitol?
Well, I think looking at it's very tough to defend an open campus like it is. 2004, I think you had Terrence Gaynor, when he was Sergeant-at-Arms, recommend a fence as well. So it's been recommended several times. I know Congress is very much opposed to it. From a security standpoint, it is very difficult to defend an open campus.
When you look at how the security was handled, especially during the Trump indictment, is that a precursor of a standard of operating procedure that we will see moving forward? Because obviously This is not just about an indictment. There eventually probably will be a trial at some point, which would make that the focus of a significant period of time where we would see scenes that played out the day that Trump was arraigned.
Well, I'd say that's a just indication of what's going on a lot of times. I mean, you have July 4th, you have other big events in Washington, D.C., and all the partners come together to provide security for the event, like you saw at the courthouse. If you drove around the courthouse, I was down there, you saw Park Police, you saw Federal Protective Service, you saw Capitol, and you saw MPD all working together. So that's happened before, and it'll continue.
Former police chief in Washington, D.C., Chief Ramsey, once told me there are upwards of something like 40 police departments that operate in the District of Columbia. At times, communication between those departments in the past had been viewed as an area that needed improvement. When you left your position, obviously there were breakdowns of communication the day of January 6th. Has that improved? Are police departments in the District of Columbia talking to each other better than they were?
The number one breakdown and the big difference between January 6th and the other events, July 4th, things like that, is the intelligence. The intelligence drives operations, and people have to realize that if we have the right intelligence, it pushes the operations to what you'll see down, like around the courthouse for the indictment of President Trump.
And intelligence sharing is important because you can't defend against what you don't know, so that intelligence needs to be shared across the board.
It's critical. Yeah. It's absolutely critical because we base all our operations on it.
Steven Sund is the former police chief of the United States Capitol Police. His book, Courage Under Fire, is currently out. Chief, we thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you.